John was sitting in a booth in the diner when Kelly walked in and sat down. "Thanks for coming in, Kelly," John said. "Well, John, you said it was really important, from the way you said it. I figured I'd see what's up." "So what's going on?" Kelly asked. "I have a question for you," John said. "A question? A question? You could have asked me a question on the phone, John. Instead, I drove across town on my lunch hour." Kelly slammed her palm on the table in frustration. "This isn't just a normal question, Kelly. This is the kind of question that should be asked face to face." John said. "All right, then. Ask your question," Kelly said. "Do you believe me now?" John asked. "Believe you about what?" Kelly asked. "About Eric," John said. "About Eric? John, what the hell are you talking about?" Kelly asked. "About 3 months before we broke up, I noticed the way he was looking at you and the way he was flirting with you. I told you I didn't like it, and I told him I didn't like it. You told me I was imagining things and even got mad at me for not trusting you. Over the last 3 months of our relationship, things have gotten worse and worse. He openly hit on you in front of everyone, and you let him do it. I told you I didn't like it, and you said you didn't believe he was doing anything wrong and got mad at me again. And then the day came when I came home and found you gone. You had moved out while I was at work and didn't even leave a note explaining. I was heartbroken and confused until about a week later when I heard you were living with him. That's when I realized what had happened." "So now you believe me?" John asked. "John, Eric had nothing to do with what happened between you and me," Kelly said. "Oh, really? Then tell me, Kelly, how do I have this?" John asked. He pulled a small box out of his pocket and placed it on the table between them. Kelly was surprised to see it. She began to shiver. "What is it?" Kelly asked. "I think you know exactly what it is. I bought it a few days before I first noticed you and Eric flirting at that party. The first time I told you I didn't like it. We were so insanely happy together. Or at least I was happy, and I thought you were happy too. When I saw him flirting with you and you told me it didn't mean anything, I put it off until I had a chance to calm down. I never got a chance to calm down. It just got worse and worse until the day you left, Kelly. You said Eric had nothing to do with what happened between us. Then explain to me, Kelly, how I walked away from wanting to give you that, being heartbroken and hating you in just 3 months. Explain it to me, Kelly," John said. John opened the box and placed it in front of Kelly. Kelly knew what was in the box, but seeing the glint of a large diamond on her engagement ring finally broke her. She burst into tears. John just sat there looking at her for several minutes. "Do you believe me now, Kelly?" John asked. Kelly couldn't bring herself to answer. She just looked at John with tears in her eyes and then got up from the table, ran to her car, and drove away. John remained seated at the table. He closed the ring box and put it back in his pocket. John was confused when some large man slid toward the booth that Kelly had just vacated. "Hi, what do you want here?" John asked. "I overheard you talking to the young lady. You were a little harsh, don't you think?" Edward asked. "No, I wasn't. We've been together for 3 years. Hell, we bought a house together. A house that I'm paying for myself now. She never gave any indication that she wasn't so happy. Until I saw her at that party flirting with him. She let it happen, but he was the aggressor. I told her it was happening. She denied it even to the very end. Now she is living with this son of a bitch. I asked her to meet me today to see if she would believe me now that he destroyed our relationship. I wanted to show her how much I loved her and how much I wanted to be with her. The ring sent her the message pretty clearly. Now I hurt her as much as she hurt me," John said. "Maybe if you'd spent more time taking care of Kelly and less time being jealous, my son wouldn't have been able to steal her away from you," Edward said smugly. "Your son? Eric is your son?" John shouted. "Yes," Edward said. John got up from the table, grabbed the man, lifted him to his feet, and punched him hard in the face, causing him to fall to the floor. Edward cringed and raised his hands to protect his face as John leaned over and looked him in the eye. "That was for raising a mean freak who steals other people's women," John said. John threw the money for his meal on the table and walked out of the diner. A few hours later, on the other side of town, Eric came home and immediately realized something was wrong. Kelly's things were gone. He dialed her cell phone number. "Hello," Kelly said. "Kelly, baby, what's going on? Where are you?" Eric asked. I can't I can't be with you anymore, Eric, Kelly sobbed. What? Why? Kelly, what you're saying doesn't make any sense, Eric said. He was right. He was right. He was right all along. Kelly sobbed again. Who was right? What are you talking about, Kelly? Eric asked. John, he was right. You stole me from him. I let it happen, but you stole me. Kelly, you left him willingly, Eric said. You made me say yes. I shouldn't have let you. I shouldn't have let you get so close. John and I were happy for 3 years before you started hitting on me. He told me what you were doing. I didn't believe him. He was right. Damn you, Eric, Kelly said. Kelly, don't be like that. If John let it happen, that's his problem, Eric said. No, it's my problem. He warned me. He tried to stop me. I wouldn't listen to him, said Kelly. Kelly, baby, what about us? Eric asked. We're gone. We were never supposed to be, said Kelly. So you're going back to him? That's the thing, Kelly. You're going back to John? Eric asked. No, John would never take me back after what I did. Then why are you leaving me? Eric asked. I owe John a debt of gratitude. I've realized my mistake, and I have to fix it to the best of my ability, said Kelly. A mistake? Kelly, I wasn't wrong, Eric exclaimed. John was going to propose to me. He showed me a mind-blowing ring. The first time you flirted with me, he was so angry he decided to wait until he calmed down. 3 months later, I left him. I let you ruin 3 years of happiness in just 3 months. I was a fool. I hate you, Eric, and I never want to see you or hear from you again. Kelly, wait, Eric said. Kelly hung up the phone. Eric stared at his phone for a moment, then clenched his fists in anger. That bastard is going to pay for this, Eric said. Eric got in his car and drove to John's house, the house where his seduction of Kelly had begun. He ran up to the door and began pounding angrily on it with his fists. John had a very good idea who was standing at the door. He had no idea what Kelly had done after she left the diner, but he assumed that Eric was coming to avenge his father. John was ready when he opened the door. Eric threw the first punch, but John dodged before throwing a punch of his own that threw Eric back, and he fell into the yard. Too bad. A son like his father. At least he had an excuse for being old. Did he send you here, or did you come on your own? John asked. What are you talking about, you son of a bitch? Eric asked, standing up. You mean your father didn't call you and tell you about how I punched him in the face in the diner and left him crumpled on the floor like a little kid? John asked. What, you hit my father? Eric asked. I had to. He overheard me talking to Kelly, and then he stood up for you. He deserved it for raising a freak like you, John said. You son of a bitch. What did you say to Kelly? Eric asked. What the hell do you care? John asked. I care because when I got home from work, all her stuff had been taken out of my apartment and she was long gone. I called her and she said she didn't want anything more to do with me. So you tell me. You tell me what the hell you said to her. Go talk to your father. He heard the whole conversation. And get off my property before I break a few ribs in addition to a black eye, said John. Eric looked at John and realized that coming here to challenge him to a fight was a mistake. He backed up, then turned around, hurried to his car, and drove away. When John turned to go back into the house, there were tears in his eyes. I think she finally believed me,